Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Ma'am Glenn.
Morning.
Morning, Ma'am Glenna.
Morning,
Miss
Morning,
Glenn.
ma'am.
ma'am.
Morning,
Okay,
Doc.
so our discussion for
Morning, ma'am.
this session is all about the blended learning, no? The EDMST already gave background on what is blended learning. Okay, so the coronavirus disease 2019, or what we call the COVID-19 pandemic, has greatly affected all sectors of our society. This public health crisis has compelled countries around the world to revisit their educational systems and adopt the most appropriate delivery modalities for their learners. In response to this, one of the key responses in the Philippines was the nationwide closure of all learning institutions in the hopes of preventing schools from becoming centers for COVID-19. Furthermore, this pandemic brought about the massive implementation of alternative learning methods through distance learning modalities. While this facilitated learning continuity and maximized the implementation of distance learning modalities, there are major challenges in the teaching and learning process affecting adjustment and development of learners. I have here a news clip on the President Duterte's doubt on the blended learning 2 years ago.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte doubts the Philippine education sector's readiness to shift to blended learning amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us live for more on this is Education Undersecretary Diosdado.
Okay.
Meanwhile, President
Okay, so that was 2 years ago. President Duterte doubted the use of blended learning. That was still in the onset of the pandemic. Now, how are we now? How about us here in the integrated school? How are we now on this topic, on the blended learning? Is the integrated school, especially the teachers, ready for the blended learning? If you say that you are ready, please tap your raise hand button, please. So many are already ready. That's good. Okay, thank you very much, teachers. But of course, yes, of course, we are very ready, no? So thank you so much for that. But before we can implement that one, because this is really the direction that the school is looking into, is blended learning. Before we can implement this modality, we are going to review and understand first the basis of this modality. So there are two DepEd memorandum, no, of this modality. So we have here the DepEd and DOH Joint Memorandum Circular number 1, Series 2021, and the other one is the DepEd Memorandum number 0721, Series of 2021. This is the preparations for the pilot face-to-face expansion and transitioning to the new normal. Okay? So these are the basis of our implementation of the blended learning. The objective of our sessions this morning with Sir Jack John, that you would familiarize the framework of the blended learning for limited face-to-face classes in the basic education. And then we determine the general guidelines for blended learning and gather insights from the basic ed community in the implementation of the blended learning. Of course, the third objective is very much important. This is collaboration. Now we need to know also your insights. We need to know also your thoughts about the the implementation of the blended learning. Okay, so let's tackle first the first guideline, the joint memorandum. It's on the operational guidelines on the implementation of the limited face-to-face learning modality, because we cannot really have the full blast of the face-to-face class next school year. So, according to this memorandum, uh, the background of this, basis of this is from the UNESCO. It says that disruptions to instructional time in the classroom can have a severe impact on a child's ability to learn. Do you agree on this? I'm sure you are. No? Then the other one, remote learning has been particularly challenging, especially for elementary school students, as they need a level of guidance, social interaction, and tactile learning opportunities that are difficult to replicate in an online classroom. Also, there is no one-size-fits-all strategy for determining the optional model for learning in the COVID-19 crisis. From the analysis also on data tracked by UNESCO and NWEA, or what we call the Northwestern Evaluation Association, certain groups of students have suffered greater setbacks and will continue to face more obstacles in remote learning environments. Many of their students struggle to thrive in a remote environment where they lack hand-on guidance, emotional support, and access to technology. I'm sure you also agree with this. There are already a lot of referrals now we received about the situations of our students, even teachers. No? So the scope of this memorandum is this policy shall provide guidance on the mechanism and standards on the resumption of face-to-face classes. The guidelines shall also cover the roles and responsibilities of stakeholders across governance levels to ensure effective, efficient, and safe implementation. This joint memorandum circular is hereby established to guide the safe implementation of the limited face-to-face classes to improve learning outcomes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically, deliver quality basic education in a safe learning environment to learners in low to minimal risk areas. It's good that we are now on level 2. This morning, I've heard from the news that Metro Manila or NCR maybe could go down to level 1. But experts doubted this one because of the coming election campaign, the coming election. Also, it addressed the teaching and learning gaps encountered in the distance learning modalities and strengthened the school community health safety support system for all children. This is very important, no? The school community health and safety system for all children. So this is the operational framework. This is adopted from UNESCO, UNICEF, and World Bank framework. No? So this framework, if you're going to look at the framework, there are 4 major pillars, okay, of this framework. By the way, wala na ko nagituyo nga na blue o orange ha. This is from the memorandum. So the first one is, if you're going to look at the first chunks of this is the safe operations, and then you have the teaching and learning, then you have including the most marginalized, and the well-being and protection. So cutting across all the pillars are the policy and finance support to ensure operational mechanisms are in place. Central to this is the shared responsibility principle. And then the framework will effectively engage the entire society. We're going to look at the drawing now. Making sure that learners are safe and healthy while attending the face-to-face classes. So the community here, we have the LGU, we have the community, we have other concerned government agencies. the school and the families, the DepEd and the DOH. This is the shared responsibilities of these agencies. Specifically also, this framework puts the learner's health and safety at the heart of the implementation, allowing them to learn better. The framework also is centered on the following common elements. No? We have the health and safety of the learners, the learning opportunities, the school operation, and engagement of the entire society. The second memorandum, the second base of our implementation is the DepEd Memorandum number 071, series of 2021, October. This was released on October 18, 2021. This is on preparations for the pilot face-to-face expansion and transitioning to the new normal. If you know, there are already public schools who are already having their pilot face-to-face classes. In Uzami City, do you know of a school, a public school, who already implemented limited face-to-face? What school is this? You don't know? I heard Montol Elementary School, pero it was closed again because there was a COVID case in the barangay. Because the number one requirement of this assessment is, of this memorandum is, if there is a case in the barangay, even one case in the barangay where the school is situated, there will be suspension of the limited face-to-face. So there are this memorandum addresses the three types of schools. We have the public schools, the private schools, and the international schools. So I only focus or get the private schools, the importance of this. So all private schools shall undertake self-assessment and using the school safety assessment tool attached to this memorandum. The result of the self-assessment will determine the level of readiness for the safe reintroduction of face-to-face, and we will give an indication of what improvements or adjustments are needed to raise the level of readiness for face-to-face. So this is the memorandum. Okay, so this is the school safety assessment tool. Okay, this is a 25 pages safety assessment tool. Okay, so this is found in in this memorandum. We are going to submit this one. We target to submit this one by March. No, we have to have this assessment. Okay, this is the tool that we are going to use. This school safety assessment tool shall be used to assess the readiness of the school to participate in the conduct of the pilot implementation of face-to-face learning modality in the time of COVID-19 pandemic. So the data gathered shall be used on baseline information in preparation for the safe reopening of the class. For a school to say yes to all indicators. In answering this assessment, school heads shall ensure that the key stakeholders are consulted. The division office shall facilitate the administration of this tool to the nominated schools and shall create a composite team who will conduct monitors visit to validate the data and verify the results submitted by the school. So we are on ongoing review and answering this assessment. Okay. Another important part of this memorandum is the acceleration of vaccination of teachers. Are we all vaccinated now? Okay, based from the survey that Brother Vince gathered, um, integrated school is now 100%. The faculty and staff of the integrated school is 100% vaccinated. Thank you very much for that. Now, so this time also we have the ongoing vaccination of the children. No, according to the news, 11 years old, 5 years old to 11 years old ata, no, are scheduled for vaccination. So this is very important aspect of this or part of this memorandum, because if you have to look at the framework again, safety, the health and safety of our students, our learners must be at the top priority, or the priority of the coming limited face to face. So the completion of the accelerated vaccination here is of all teachers and school personnel will provide again na additional layer of protection. That's the importance of the vaccination. Okay, so that is the memorandum, the two important memorandum, the joint memorandum or memorandums from DepEd and the DOH. This is our base. We can, before we implement the blended learning or the limited face-to-face, we have to uh, assess first our capability of implementing the blended learning. So Sir Jack John will continue to discuss on how to implement the blended learning in the integrated school. Sir Jack John?
Thank you very much, Doc Lena. I hope that I am audible already to everyone. Doc Lena already set the basis no, on our implementation and our operation for blended learning in the basic education. However, you have heard also already on the theories and some frameworks of blended learning, but we will go further than that. No, it's blend flex. I am combining blended and flexible learning, and I will be telling to you this one why later on. On the blended learning, why do I use this one? It's because blended learning actually, to those who were able to attend workshops and seminars on blended learning, it's actually just a framework, a learning framework that makes use and integrates technology to augment face-to-face instruction. So meaning to say, there is still more face-to-face classes than having on-site and online. So this is not the kind of setup that we will have for the upcoming school year. That's why there is a combination of both blended and flexible learning. And this is the kind of framework that we see suitable for our implementation of limited face-to-face classes for the upcoming school year. And again, please remind yourselves that it's limited, limited face-to-face, meaning to say subjects will be limited and class size will also be limited. Okay? What is the outline of my discussion? Number one, I'm going to discuss to you the rationale for the implementation of blended flexible or blend flex learning framework in the basic ed. Number two, I'm also going to share to you some descriptions on blended flexible framework for limited face-to-face classes in the basic education. And number three, some general guidelines that we crafted initially in preparation for these limited face-to-face classes. And again, as early as now, I'm going to make a disclaimer that our preparations are still ongoing. So it's still underway. And some of these might have changes. And this is also for the benefit for all of us, because I think this is an important initial stage for you to be able to be instructed on the kind of framework, the kind of learning environment that we will have for the upcoming school year. And hopefully, when we gather some of your thoughts and some of your insights on this, then we can craft a better policy, craft better framework for our implementation of the limited face-to-face classes. Now, it's almost 2 years that we were able to establish distance learning in our school, both online through the use of our LMS and also offline through the use of our printed modules. However, just last year, our government has mandates, no, on how we operationalize our delivery of instruction through face-to-face or blended, no, limited face-to-face classes. And for us to be able to be guided, no, with this particular framework, of course, we follow and obey the government's mandate. Earlier, Dr. Glenna discussed about this, no, so we are guided on the DepEd-DOH Joint Memorandum Circular number 1 on the operational guidelines on the implementation of limited face-to-face learning modality. The DepEd Memorandum number 85 also on the preparations for the implementation of the expanded face-to-face classes. And of course, just recently, I think this was released last January, interim guidelines. This is an order, DepEd order, interim guidelines on the expansion of limited face-to-face classes. From here, we will craft policies and guidelines in order for us to implement face-to-face classes through the blended flexible learning framework. And this will highlight our struggle on addressing the learning gaps of our students. We hope that with this kind of learning modality, because we received a lot of struggles, we received a lot of cases and concerns from our students, and we hope to address them. And of course, through the help of this kind of framework, we will be able to close these gaps, learning gaps, from our students. Now, what is blended flexible learning framework for limited face-to-face classes? Actually, there are a lot of learning frameworks now that we have. You have the face-to-face framework, online framework, you have blended framework. The other one is flexible learning framework, in which it has two work strands. Hybrid. So the term hybrid, we cannot imagine that it is used in learning because we only knew the term hybrid, of hybrid rice, hybrid animals, hybrid food. Now we have hybrid learning. And this is the kind of learning for the next normal, not anymore the new normal, the next normal, the next possible normal. So this is already hybrid learning. And it's a combination of hybrid flexible where it's students' choice, on-site or online mode of participation, that's their choice. However, in our case, we will be grouping our students based on their needs. Okay, so we will be having blended flexible learning, which is more suitable in our setup. Okay, students assigned to groups on rotation for on-site classes, plus there will be online classes that will supplement the instructions in our face-to-face or on-site lectures. Okay, these are according to some researches, and we hope to implement them here. And of course, we'll be creating policies and procedures and protocols in order for us to implement this one successfully. In the blended flexible framework, BlendFlex, teachers and students will have access to 3 types of learning environments. Online asynchronous, so meaning to say, they're conducting some activities, but we are not directly instructing them. So self-paced, but online asynchronous. Online synchronous, so our teacher-directed online activities, an example of an online synchronous setup, and on-site, meaning to say in the physical classroom. Teachers can strategically design learning experiences combining these 3 learning environments. I know that right now you will have confusions on how we are going to implement this one or apply this one, but later on I hope that it will be clear to you, and hopefully we can have a vision on what kind of learning environment or class that we will be having for the upcoming school year. So in other words, there will still be on-site plus online asynchronous activities. Students whose batch is allowed on-site will be in the classroom, while the rest of the students will work on asynchronous modules through the use of an LMS. In our case, we have Canvas as our learning management system. In other words, to clarify things out and contextualize things out, we will be having on-site classes. And during our online classes, we will have classroom discussion or lectures and interaction and other activities that are considered necessary and relevant to be conducted on-site. And then we'll also have, it's a combination of online asynchronous activities. And this we plan to have formative and summative assessments, no, and other enrichment activities for just to enrich the classroom lecture and the interaction that happened, no, in the classroom, and also online synchronous activities. Okay, so of course, no, there will be some subjects that will not be covered or that cannot, or I mean, that will not be prioritized. The term is prioritized. I'm sorry for the term, but there are, we consider subjects that are really needed to have online classes or on-site classes. No, so those subjects who will be still on online classes, they will still conduct teacher-directed online activity. And of course, we will be having online academic consultations um, for both subjects that will have both on-site and online asynchronous, and those subjects which will have the usual setup, no, that we will have the kind of setup that we are having, no, until now. So this is the kind of framework that we will have for the basic education. It is for this reason that a blended flexible learning framework in the teaching and learning process shall be adopted in order to bridge the learning gaps among the students and assure quality in the delivery of instruction. All year levels, from the universal kinder until grade 12, shall participate in these flexible learning classes. However, several considerations and provisions may be looked into as necessary. So before, or in the first katong JMC, DepEd DOH JMC number 1, the the cited participants are only at least senior high school. However, it is stated in the document that students or learners who are dependent on face-to-face classes shall be prioritized. And then there was another circular, katong 71 and 86, no, that memorandum. It's now expanded. So meaning to say, if it's expanded, there will be more year levels who will be participating. But then again, please remember that it will require, because there is a maximum number per class, no, in the class size, we are also limited with the number of classrooms that we will be having. Muna nga, please understand that not all subjects may be prioritized to have on-site classes. We will only prioritize subjects which require on-site performances, on-site demonstrations, and those subjects of learners who are dependent to face-to-face classes. For example, universal kinder until, or nursery until grade 3. No? And later, I'll be discussing to you what these subjects are. To move forward, the Blend Flex Learning Framework features a combination of both on-site and distance teaching and learning. On-site learning happens in the physical classroom, where students and teachers encounter face-to-face instruction, while flexible learning will be in the form of online modality, making use of the school's learning management system, which is Canvas. Good thing for us because we already established our distance learning modality, specifically our offline learners and our online modality. You know? So we have established that one. So when we go back to online learning, I mean, when we combine, I mean, on-site and online learning, it would be difficult for us because we have this established setup already. It is hoped that through the adoption of Blend Flex Learning Framework for the coming school year, we may be able to provide proper interventions and close the learning gaps among the students to ensure full mastery of the competencies as prescribed by the Department of Education. Okay, so we are really hoping this one, especially now we are having difficulty in providing interventions with our classes. Okay. Now, I will be presenting some initial guidelines, general initial guidelines on our implementation of the Blend Flex Learning as our framework for the limited face-to-face classes. Please understand that I will only be presenting to you on the academic side. So on the part of the logistics, physical plant, it's not yet covered here. Perhaps there will be another avenue that we will be discussing that one to you. But initially, these are the plans of the academic team, in the curriculum or in the academics, in the delivery of instruction, ka-important po kaayo ang atua. Although, we also prioritize, katong framework ni present ni Doc Glenna earlier, student learning, safety of our students, mental health well-being. So kato siya, that's part of the framework, and they all, share equal importance as we deliver our instruction or as we open our school for limited face-to-face classes. So for our curriculum, we hope to have an enhanced curriculum for blend flex learning. So of course, it is common and it is usual, no, for us during our inset to align our curriculum, streamline our curriculum, and this time retrofit our curriculum to the kind of learning framework that we will be having for the next school year. Okay, but and don't worry because we will be really making it into a point and giving importance on the development of our learning modules through the alignment and streamlining of our curriculum. And what are our bases, no, in enhancing our curriculum? So of course, our curriculum guides, no, DepEd curriculum guides, the most essential learning competencies. But I heard that the Department of Education, when I attended a webinar last November, there will be a new, they will release a new set of competencies for retrofitted for blended learning. I'm not sure if they released it already. They said that it will be released by December or January, but until now, I don't think that we have or that they have released it or published it. So we are still waiting, no, for other updates from the Department of Education. And if you ask why we are going to wait, of course, that is basic, no? That's the basic standards in order for us to operate, no, as a school in terms of curriculum development. And of course, lastly, because we aim for enhanced curriculum, hopefully we can consider our APSA competencies. Not only do we prepare our students to meet the demands of the basic education, but hopefully on an international level and hopefully develop further, no, the mastery of the skills and competencies of our students with these considerations. So we will be doing this in our INSEP. For assessment and grading, still there are no guidelines yet that are set by the Department of Education. Therefore, what we will be basing on our assessment and grading will be DepEd Order number 31, series of 2020. This is our basis for grading and assessment since the start of the pandemic. Entering guidelines for assessment and grading in light of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. Of course, we will be conducting diagnostic, formative, and summative assessments. No? This will help us with our operation. Okay? Assessments will make sure that they measure the most essential learning competencies for holistic development. I understand we don't have much time, I think. No? So I will just be discussing the most important parts. No? On the requirements for participation in the blended learning classes. No? So there are certain guidelines, no, on the provisions on the participation of blended learning classes. So I will be discussing for the two requirements, the learners and the teachers. So this is adapted from DepEd circular number 1, series of 2021, specifically on sections 6.3.1. Number 1, there must be a signed written consent from the parents or guardians. That's why in the second quarter report card distribution, we will start to provide written consent to our parents so that we will have an assumption of the number of students that we will have, because that is important in our planning. So sa class size, sa sectioning, sa loading sa teachers, sa schedule, which is really very important because it's very large. No? I mean, wide ang scope sa to ang schedule if we will have this kind of learning framework. Children who require childcare, such as those whose parents must work outside the home or who have no directly available and immediate responsible adults and guardians at home. They will be prioritized. Learners who are heavily dependent on face-to-face learning interventions, such as K-Stage 1 learners from kindergarten to grade 3. Learners who struggle to meet the required learning competencies, no? Katong mga daghang academic concerns. And here, specifically, our senior high school learners enrolled in technical vocational livelihood track requiring workshop equipment in school and other laboratory subjects. Learners that are documented to be affected by mental health concerns. No? This one, we receive a lot of concerns that students claim to have mental health problems or struggling from mental health problems. But there are also those in fairness, who are diagnosed of mental health concerns. But these students now will be prioritized for the blended learning. However, in our plan, we have, you know, we plan to have all students, no, possibly to be enrolled in the limited face-to-face classes. For the teachers, only vaccinated teachers may participate, and vaccinated learners shall be preferred according to the order series of 2022 number 3, particularly section 1G. No? So, if you ask further about those teachers who are unvaccinated, I don't think that I have the accurate response. We will wait for the final policies from the Human Resource Office. Okay, so our contingency plan in our closure of the school in case if there are if there is surge, no, of COVID cases, we will go back to our established online or distance learning modality, specifically LOIS, no, our online distance learning modality through the use of our LMS. Okay. Class schedule. This one is really very challenging for us, no, to craft. The school will ensure that arrival, breaks, and dismissal time are staggered to avoid crowding of learners in the school's canteen and gates. However, we will see to it that students will only be here in school for a half day. So, and of course, we will see to it, I think it's in the policy, no, that students should bring their own snacks in school so that they will not anymore go out of the classroom. So there is a limited contact, no, from person to person. Okay, and of course, lunch break should be done at home. It's part of the guidelines. And an alternate weekly schedule for on-site and distance modality shall be adopted. So for example, week 1 will be on-site learning, so all students will come here in school. Week 2 will be the continuation of the online asynchronous activities, no, of the students, and then week 3 will be on-site learning. Okay, however, we will see to it the accommodation of, the capacity of our classrooms. Now, if we will have everyone, no, in the classroom, that's why it's difficult for us right now to present to you really a prototype of a class schedule. We will just be presenting to you a final schedule once we finalize everything sooner, no, when we start our school year. Okay. And of course, no, the subjects. So here is our plan for the subjects. By the way, the numbers you see on the rightmost side are the class size maximum number of students in a classroom. So nursery, we plan to have it all subjects. Maximum class size 12. UK, all subjects. Grades 1 to 3, all subjects. For grades 4 to 6, these are the only subjects that we consider necessary to have classes on site. Reading, English, Math, Science, MAPE, TLE, and ICT are still subjects. We consider them important to have on-site lectures and demonstrations or activities. For the School of the Deaf, it's not difficult because there are only minimal number of students for them, and they also have a designated classroom intended for them. So we can have all subjects, no, for the School for the Deaf. Grade 7 to 10, these are the subjects that we consider. Actually, Gani, initially, the administrators only plan to have subjects with laboratory classes, but we really ensured that subjects that may require or that should require on-site lectures should be having this blend flex learning framework, no, for the upcoming school year. Math, Science, TLE, ICT, and MAPE. Okay. Grade 11, no, first SEM, Gen Chem 1, MTech, PE 11, housekeeping, bread and pastry for the TVL. Gen Chem 2. And for the grade 12, research, we included research as a priority subject and other laboratory subjects for STEM and TVL. And we included PE for all grade 11 and grade 12, all semesters in the senior high school, because we find difficulty in the performances of our students. If you notice, no, maulaw sila mo face of camera and so on. They have a lot of issues, no, in the PE subject. Okay, for the ABM grade 12 second semester, we included their business enterprise simulation. For HUMS, we included their ComEng, no, and for TVLHE, of course, all their laboratory subjects. Um, for the ABM grade 12 second semester, we included their business enterprise simulation. For HUMS, we included their ComEng, no, and for TVLHE, of course, all their laboratory subjects. 4 TVLHE, of course, all their laboratory subjects. we don't have enough time. I'm sorry if I am really hurrying in my discussion. If you have concerns and questions now, maybe we can meet again by department and then collate your insights now for us to be able to really prepare for our face-to-face classes. Um, I shared or we shared to you the government mandates and the implementation of limited face-to-face classes, the rationale of why we implement blend flex learning, and of course, some very short description of the blend flex learning framework for the LSU Basic Education Unit, and some general guidelines on some aspects that we need to consider in as far as academics is concerned on our implementation of limited face-to-face classes. Um, I want you, at least lang now, 2 minutes for 2 minutes, kindly go to slido.com and kindly share an insight, just one insight lang for, um, for this one, on your thoughts on the Blend Flex learning framework. Okay? Just one word. Kindly go to Slido. Okay, some of you said it's exciting. You are hopeful. Thank you very much for being hopeful. But the common word really is it's challenging. I hope that you see the screen. Yes, it's very challenging. Thank you very much for your thoughts on this one. Some of you are confident. We are confident because this is a shared responsibility to all of us. I know that we are not only doing this, administrators, but you will also share your responsibility on this. It's a good news. All right. So part really of it is that you are challenged. We are all challenged actually. I mean, wala may school in our country now who has prepared for this, but now we are trying to have this as one community in the basic education to really implement this one successfully for the upcoming school year. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we hope that although we are challenged, we are still hopeful for the next coming school years. Thank you very much.